Hello and welcome back to the OTB channel. Today it's a mini review. Ben Fitzpatrick has just released a new version of Hackman, but this time he's back on Arch. So for those of you looking for an easy Arch install with a customized XFCE desktop, this may well be for you. Okay, so welcome back. For those of you who have been following my channel, you'll know that 5 or 6 weeks ago I reviewed one of Ben Fitzpatrick's distros where he was doing a Unity Respin, and I was quite impressed with it. Unfortunately, on that occasion, it wasn't installable because Ben had omitted to put the calamares installer in there, which is an easy thing to do when you're doing a respin. But he contacted me a couple of weeks ago to say, right, I've produced another version of Hackman. We're back on Arch. It's XFCE. Can you take a look? So I'm more than happy to. I'm an Arch fan, as you know, and I know that many of you will say that we've got so many Arch distros out there with easy installers that it's becoming quite crowded in the marketplace. And I sort of understand that, but everyone is just slightly different. I personally installed Arch the Arch way, but I'm not one of those people who thinks that if you don't install it the Arch way, there's something wrong. I'm all for an easy calamares installer. So, you know, the more the merrier. What Ben tells me is Michael Moore, who he used to jointly maintain this distro with, has now stepped down. So Ben is the sole maintainer. So I know how difficult it is to get these respins sorted. So hopefully this is a good looking distro that you might be interested in. And as a sole maintainer out there, you know, let's give him some love, guys. It's not like there's a team working on this. It's a one-man act of love. So what's it got in it? Well, let's go to the split screen here. You can download the distro from the Sourceforge page, Hackman Linux. The ISO that I've downloaded is this one, 11th of February 2020. So it's a fully customized XFCE desktop. It's got the easy-to-use calamares installer, shell scripts to make it's easier for the user, the package manager, plenty of apps to make the new user experience fun and easy, and Trizen. I've just run it and I didn't look at Trizen, I'll be honest, because I use Yay. But we'll get to that as we go along. So all good. It's basically an Arch system, but it's pre-configured and it has a range of packages installed. Now, whether or not you see that as a good thing depends on whether or not you're going to use the packages that are on the system. And at this stage, I have no idea. So let's fire it up in VirtualBox. Let's take a quick look. Right, so I've attached the Hackman ISO to VirtualBox. It's just booting now in UEFI mode. We've got the normal settings, 8 gig of RAM, 32 gig virtual hard drive, 2 threads of my i5 processor. There was the normal lag with VirtualBox when booting in UEFI, but it now seems to be doing what it needs to do. It's booted up and we're about to go into Hackman Linux. And as you can see, we're at a very plain looking screen, which is no bad thing in itself, with just the home icon and the install Hackman Linux on the desktop. We'll explore the distro later, but for now, let's just get it installed. So, hack. Okay, install. We'll double click on that and I'm expecting to see the normal calamares installer, which I can. So let's set that to British English, and follow along. Okay, it's not picked up my time zone, so we'll just click on London and proceed. Yes, English keyboard, that's great. What do we want to do? It's spotted I'm in EFI mode, but it's asking me, do I want to erase the disk or go into manual partitioning? Well, just for a change, let's do manual partitioning. So as I'm in EFI mode, the first thing I need, well, this is a raw disk, so new partition table, please. And I'm going to pick a GPT partition table. Okay, so I have now some free space that I can play with. Let's create. What do I want to create? Well, what I want to create is a FAT32 partition of, let's say, 300 meg. So let me just edit this. And what mount point do I want to set? I want to set boot EFI as the mount point. I want to add the boot flag. I can't actually see. Yeah, that's actually done. And are there any other flags here that I could choose? It doesn't look like it. I was looking to see if there was an ESP flag, but I don't actually see one. Okay, fine. So that's at boot EFI, and we've got the boot flag there. On the free space, I'm going to create an ext4 partition, and we'll mount that at root. I'm not going to bother with a swap partition in a virtual machine, so I'm just going to click OK. I'm just going to go back to my EFI partition. I just want to see that I have got the boot flag. I have got the boot flag set there, so we should be fine. Okay, let's click Next. Enter my name. Well, it's the usual. Just entering my password, and yes, we will use the same password for the root account. Next. So the current, it's a blank disk. It's going to create a 300 meg FAT32 partition and a 31.7 gig ext4 partition that's mounted at root. So let's install now, and we'll come back once we're done. Right, so that's us all done. What I'm going to do is shut this down, remove the ISO if necessary, reboot it, and we'll come back then. So that's the installation complete. I removed the ISO file and I booted the ISO, and it took about a second to get to the login screen, which you can see in front of you. So let's log in and see what we get. Okay, looks pretty much the same to me as the live ISO. A very clean desktop. And we have the little menu here at the bottom, which we'll go through shortly. I had a conversation with Ben Fitzpatrick the other day, and I said, I've had a quick look, and the wallpaper isn't actually appearing. Now, Ben said he'd had terrible trouble getting it to appear on the ISO, and what I've found is that if you boot in MBR mode, the standard non-EFI mode, all the wallpaper is in the folder, and you get the Yoda wallpaper by default. If you boot in UFI mode, that doesn't seem to happen. You get nothing here, and the wallpaper for your desktop, well, there's nothing there to select. So what you have to do basically is go to the file system, which is no bad thing if it'll open. Let's go to other. There we go. And it's in USR, share, backgrounds, and XFCE. Open that up, and all your wallpaper appears. Making these respins is always a bit of a fiddly thing, and there are always little bits and pieces that need to be fixed. Ben is aware of this. However, at the end of the day, it's not a deal breaker. You can easily access the wallpaper. And if you like Yoda, the default Yoda Hackman Linux wallpaper is there. Personally, I think I prefer something like that or something like that. So, we have a basic XFCE desktop. What Ben has actually done here is he's provided some custom themes. He's provided an easy way to actually install Arch, and he's inserted the calamares installer there, which is brilliant, and a load of apps. Now, whether or not the apps suit you will depend what you're going to use this desktop for, obviously. So, let's just open a terminal, and I want to very quickly, let me make this full screen, I want to very quickly make sure that this is just a plain Arch system rather than a customized Arch system. In other words, no custom repositories. There we go. So here's the standard pacman.conf, which seems to be all pretty standard so far. Testing is obviously commented out, but we have core, we have extra, we have community, we have, if I can get to it, multi-lib, okay, the mirror list, and actually there is a Hackman Linux repo here. Not sure what's in there, but we'll no doubt find out as we go through this. Let's have a quick look at what applications are installed by default. This is just a very brief overview today. So if we go into accessories, we've got the archive manager, bulk rename, you've got Compton as a compositor, the HP device manager, Kvantum. Right, I have no idea what Kvantum is, but looking there, it seems to be a GUI for installing, selecting, and manipulating Kvantum themes. The menu editor, notes, PyCom, Redshift, a screenshot application, sensor viewer, Solar for Logitech peripherals. What else? You've got Thunar as the standard browser manager, and of course you've got Vim. And interesting to see, he's included a USB image writer there. What about games? Well, that's good to see for the gamers out there. You've got Lutris installed by default, and also Steam installed by default. In terms of graphics, thank you, Ben. You've actually included the GIMP. Along with Inkscape and Nomax as an open source image viewer. And of course you've got a document viewer and a document scanner there. What about in the internet section? Avahi, Chromium, Discord, Mumble, Pidgin, Steam appears there again. But you've also got Telegram installed by default, Thunderbird and Transmission. Okay, so no Firefox in this by the look of it. It defaults to Chromium. And what about multimedia? Well, this was the thing that caught my eye as somebody who makes YouTube videos. This pretty much comes fully loaded for all the bits and pieces that I use. You've got Audacity for your audio editing. I do use that on occasion, but often I just go with the sound quality as is and try and sort that out whilst I'm recording using my mixer settings, so I don't need to do anything afterwards. You've got Clementine as your music player, Handbrake for transcoding, Kdenlive, excellent. MPV, the media player. I think that's the GNOME media player, if I'm correct. I might be wrong, but hey. OBS Studio installed by default. Let's just open it up and see if it does actually open. Yeah, it does. Excellent. Optimize just for recording. Next. Use current. Next. Apply settings. Always good to have that installed if you do anything with video. What else have we got here? Video for Linux. Great for your webcams. Simple screen recorder also installed out of the box, and of course VLC. Office. Now that's a bit of a surprise. I'm sure Ben here has been trying to keep the size of the ISO down, which is already 2.5 gigs. So what we have rather than LibreOffice is AbiWord and GNU-Meric. Not that there's anything wrong with these, it depends how much office work you do. I've often used AbiWord and I found it to be a great word processor. Similarly with GNU-Meric, it's a spreadsheet program. Its compatibility with Microsoft Office, both of those things, is okay. That's about as much as you'd say. But if you're not worried about crossing and changing over with Microsoft Office files, it'll do the job. And of course you can always install LibreOffice from the repositories. What about other? HP UScan, settings. Well, let's go into the settings panel. That's probably going to be better for us. Okay. Let's see if I can just make this a bit bigger here. Nope. Let's try again. No, I don't want to do that either. Okay. My fault entirely, this. I just want to try and... There we go. I just want to try and see what we've got in settings. So we have the standard appearance tab, and I see there seems to be quite a few themes pre-installed. Arc Dark, which is something I normally use, but you've also got standard adapter, adapter ETA, Knock2. That's quite nice. Knock2 ETA, Adwaiter Dark, Arc and Arc Dark. Arc Dark is my current favourite theme. Arc Darker, okay. Breeze if you want to go that way, or even Breeze Dark. You've obviously got your high contrast there. New Mix Black Grape. That's interesting with its purple accents. Black Ice. Okay, I think that's just a bit darker. Olive. Okay, so with green accents. Slate. I think that's a little bit too much for me. And the standard blue. Let's go for Arc Dark, which was the default. Icons. Okay, we've got quite a few icons already installed here. It's using the Arc icon theme at the moment. What else have we got here? Elementary XFCE Dark. Darker. Darkest. Papyrus. I do like Papyrus, I must admit. Fanza, not quite sure how you pronounce that. Fanza Cupertino Dark, Standard Dark, Darker, Darkest, etc. And on we go. And then we have the Papyrus Dark. Let's just stick with Papyrus for now. Okay, so a fair amount there. Oh, I've just seen we've got a few up here, which doesn't actually appear to be pulling up any icons. Right, whatever. Onto fonts. Okay, just regular settings, and great. So let's go back into the settings panel and see what else we've got. Desktop, okay, so all the wallpapers there anyway. I should have perhaps had a look there before setting it to USR share backgrounds XFCE to see if it came up automatically. So your standard sort of XFCE stuff is there. Right. File manager settings. Okay. Cavantum manager. Cavantum comes with many themes, but external themes can also be installed for being used by it. Here you can choose a theme folder and press the button below to install it in your home. So all I'd say is, if that's something that you use, all good. Right, I'm just looking along here. We seem to have the standard settings you would expect to see in an XFCE control panel. What about display? You can see there it's gone straight to 1920 by 1080. I didn't need to mess about at all with VirtualBox guest editions. The keyboard, accessibility, removable drives and media. And I see already that he's put the UFW firewall in here. It is turned off by default. So if you want a firewall, don't forget to turn that on. Okay, what else have we got? So I was looking in settings to start off with, and one thing that caught my eye, which I don't think was in the control panel. Let me just have a quick look. No, it wasn't. One thing that did catch my eye there was he's included AR&R. I have become a big fan of this little application since running straightforward window managers. For those of you who saw my OpenBox video last week, I used this to set up a dual display. So I think that's great to have that by default. What else has he got in here? The Emerald Theme Manager. An Optimus Manager, a program to handle GPU switching on Optimus laptops. That could be really useful. I did have a T430S, which I sold a few months ago, which had Optimus graphics, and I found them a real pain to configure. So having an Optimus Manager there could be really useful. Print settings, software update. Let's click on the software update and see what it is. Right, I was going to assume it's per Mac, and that would appear to be exactly what it is. What has he got set as the preferences? No AUR support at the moment, but we can turn that on. Okay, and let's just have a search here to see if... Right, where do I search? Oh, I know. To see if Yay's installed. No, it's not installed at the moment, so we'd need to build that. But the fact that PMAC is already installed makes this really straightforward and simple. I wouldn't normally install Yay personally from PMAC, but if it works, it's a quick way of getting everything up and running, and then you can just use Yay for all your AUR installs. So it seems to be downloading okay at the for the time being, so we'll just leave that as is for now. So what do I think? Well, let's have a look. What's he got in the system tray? The weather for Louisville, Kentucky. Well, I'm afraid I wish it was like that. It's a long way off what the weather's like here in Lancashire, but hey-ho. I don't know how easy that is to configure. Let's go to properties. Oh, yeah, you can configure it there, so not a problem. I wonder if... I think Preston might actually be where I'm at, so let's go to change. If I type Preston UK, here we are, Preston, Lancashire, which is probably the nearest. and see what it says. It's taking its own sweet time to update, but let's close it. Yeah, and there, the sunshine has gone. Cloudy, it says. Temperature 53 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. What else have we got? We've got an icon there for mail. I take it that's per Mac. Yes, it is. What have we got there? Okay, so... Oh, great, we've succeeded. Package manager transaction successfully finished. Great. What have we got there? So that's our network manager. We've then got our audio. A battery icon. Well, not necessarily of much use to me on a workstation, but good that's there anyway. I would probably take that off personally. And you've got your time over there. So everything seems to be working. If I use the terminal emulator and went for sudo yay SYU. Okay, starting full system upgrade. There are 3 providers available for the lib32 OpenCL driver. Okay, well, let's just go for the first one. We'll stick with the defaults. And now that I've seen how big that is, I think we won't bother. But you can see how it works. So there we go. One of the things that I did want to look at, actually, let's just open per Mac again. I wanted to have a quick look at the repositories, what we've actually got there. So, right, this is probably just me. I can't seem to find a way to look at the installed packages from Ben's repo. So I'm just going to go the standard way and use the pack list repository, and it's Hackman Linux. Right, and let's see what Ben has installed from this. Okay, so a few things, namely comp is there, Discord, the elementary icons, Emerald and Emerald themes, the Fianza theme, GCC. I'm just working my way down this. The Optimus Manager, per Mac from the AUR, so he's installed that from the custom repo. Solar, the Thuna Shares plugin. Okay, so there's a few things there installed from the repo, but for the most part, this is pretty much plain Arch. So what do I think? Well, I think as an Arch system, it seems to work well enough. It's a nice, clean XFCE layout. I personally like the package selection, but whether or not it appeals to you will obviously depend on what you want to use the system for. But yeah, first look at Hackman Linux. All good, Ben. Well done. Right, so that's Hackman Linux. What do we think? Well, I think as an XFCE desktop, it's fine. It's nothing particularly special, and not having access to the wallpapers is a bit annoying, but it's not a deal breaker. They're easy to access. I like the package selection. I like the fact that it installs easily with Calamares. I like the fact that it's a fairly painless, straightforward install. And being Arch, well, you know, it's easy to install any desktop environment that you want from that point. I'm not sure why we need custom repos. I'm pretty sure everything already exists in Arch, even if you have to use the AUR. But it probably makes it easier for re-spinning your own distro. I don't know. I've not re-spun an Arch distro. One thing I would say, initially I wasn't going to do this on VirtualBox. I was going to put this on my little X131E ThinkPad. And I burnt the ISO to a USB stick, and I attempted to boot Unfortunately, I couldn't get my ThinkPad to boot this in EFI mode. It would boot in BIOS mode fine, but not in EFI mode. It just complained about unable to launch AMD Unicode.img file. So I thought, okay, well, I'd written it to the USB stick with DD. Perhaps that was a problem. So I repeated the writing process with Berliner Etcher, and I got exactly the same problem. Now, I think it's probably to do with the ThinkPad more than anything else. It's an old ThinkPad, and UEFI support is not great. However, other distros that I've tried, the ones that I've got on it at the moment, Peppermint and Mint, booted fine in UEFI mode. So that's something to perhaps look at, Ben. I also noticed that when I moved over to VirtualBox, I tried booting in both MBR mode and UEFI mode. All the wallpapers are there in MBR mode. They're not there in EFI mode. Hey. But apart from that, I'm going to put the EFI boot problem down to my ThinkPad, because EFI mode seems to boot fine on VirtualBox. And if it boots on VirtualBox, I'm pretty certain it's going to be my laptop, but perhaps some sort of compatibility needs to be looked at. Other than that, it's a nice XFCE desktop. Personally, as someone who produces videos, the package selection is great for me, with OBS Studio, Kdenlive, Audacity, all pre-installed. Whether or not it's for you will depend on what you use your computer or laptop for. But by all means, take a look at it, see what you think. Download the ISO, see if it boots on your laptop in EFI mode, and feedback to Ben. Ben is on YouTube, he has his own channel, and he can also be contacted on his SourceForge page, and I'll leave a link to the SourceForge page down here. I'll also leave a link to his YouTube channel, actually. So that's it for this week, guys. A bit of a brief look, I know. I'm quite busy. As you know, I tried OpenBox last week, and I'm enjoying it. And I felt compelled after some of the comments that many of you made to also move to the dark side and have a look at some tiling window managers, which I'm in the process of experimenting with. In fact, this video was recorded with i3. I don't really know what I'm doing yet, so once I've got a better grip on that, I'll do a little video to talk you through it. So that's it, guys. Please join me on Library. I'm there now with a huge amount of Linux channels. We all seem to be replicating our content across the Library. And don't forget, I have got an OldTechBloke Facebook channel. There's not many people who are members. I've not really advertised it, and I don't spend a lot of time there myself, but please feel free to join. Hopefully it'll build into a community. And by the way, Ben's there already if you wanted to have a chat with him. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Have a great weekend.